Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story of 2024. I'm Ty Hauser. Let's queer up the top stories of the year. This is number 9 of 24. Christian pastor who told grandmother to go to queer grandson's wedding is fired. This story was first broadcast on February 14th on Queer God Squad. The story shows the split between Pastor Alistair Begg and the American Family Association as a stark reminder of the struggles within Christianity over queer acceptance. The AFA, known for its anti-LGBTQ stance, deemed it sinful and equated attendance with approval. Begg recently announced his retirement as senior pastor from Parkside Church in Cleveland, Ohio. The projected date of retirement will be September 14th, 2025. Let's take a look back.
Christian pastor who told grandmother to go to queer grandson's wedding is fired. American Family Radio, the broadcast arm of the anti-LGBTQ+ American Family Association, has severed ties with 71-year-old church pastor Alistair Begg over his advice to a grandmother who has an invitation for her grandson's wedding to a transgender person. In a podcast, Begg encouraged attending the ceremony, but AFA branded it a, quote, homosexual marriage, end quote, claiming such marriages contradict biblical teachings. AFA Vice President Ed Vitigliano insisted on the wedding being a faux marriage and a sinful union. AFA President Tim Wildmon equated attending such events to enabling sin, saying, quote, if you go to the bar and you're an adult, that's your decision, but I'm not going to go and be a part of that, end quote. The rift highlights the AFA's stance that Christians attending same-sex weddings is equal to approving them. The AFA condemning LGBTQ+ individuals as immoral and satanic reminds us of countries like Russia, where the president has recently passed an anti-gay propaganda law. AFA also oversees 1 Million Moms, which is known for opposing LGBTQ+ representation in the media. While Begg's advice seemingly signaled acceptance, he has made anti-LGBTQ+ remarks in the past during the podcast named Truth for Life, the Bible, teaching ministry of Alistair Begg. He has deemed homosexuality unnatural and endorsed conversion therapy. The question is, why this sudden change of heart? Does the pastor finally understand that God accepts us all and we are all equally loved? Likely not, but this clash between the pastor and the AFA also underscores a broader debate within Christianity regarding LGBTQ+ acceptance and resistance against perceived cultural shifts.
It's always sad to me to see how these organizations, 1 Million Moms, the ACA, how they're out there just kind of pushing hate under the guise of some kind of religious...
I want to jump into this quickly.
Go.
Reverend Dr. Atwell and I know each other. We're colleagues, and we actually attended some classes at Episcopal Divinity School together. And so we agree on a lot of topics, most of them together. Christianity and LGBT issues are not convergent, or divergent. They don't clash each other. Mm-hmm. When people say the Christian and the LGBT, that is not Christianity. I just preached on this a couple months ago. When the disciples said, what are the most important commandments? The 2 I'm going to give you now. Love your God first, and love each other as God loves you. That's it.
Clear.
That's it. There were no exclusions in there. No one's pointed out you can't do this, you can't do that. Those are the important things we need to know. Love comes first. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you don't love yourself, some of these million moms, only 10 moms, maybe 10 maybe 50
right.
moms, there are a million of them. Of those moms, they have some kind of internal hate. It shows in their advertising. I've seen their stuff before. I want to watch, read their advertising. It's about hate. What do they hate about themselves? And they can't express that love.
Yeah,
they're fighting Christianity, not LGBTQ people.
Well,
and you are at Holy Angels. Love without judgment is our motto and how we live in our preaching, in our worship, and everything we do, in our work in the community. It's about love one another.
Mm-hmm. And that's beautiful because you're following true Christianity. The problem is there are a lot of Christians out there that are not being Christ-like. The word Christian, Christ's name is in that word, right? Christ. And I've always felt like if you're a Christian, you're trying to work. You might not be completely, but you're trying to work towards living your life in a Christ-like way. One of the things that comes to mind right away is the thou shalt not judge. And some of these folks are the most judgmental people I have ever met. I mean, I refuse to sit in anybody's church and be condemned to hell, because I know that I'm a child of God, and I know that God made me the way I am. But thank God I know that, because there was a time that I didn't know that. And, you know, I grew up going to church with my mom, Christian. My mom is a Christian. My dad was Hindu. But I think more and more, like what you were talking about, there are more Christians coming around and really getting past all of that hatred and bias and using the Bible to discriminate, and truly get in touch with love, loving one another.
And let's remember that this is all over whether or not a grandmother should go to her grandkid's wedding. Like, what can possibly be wrong with supporting someone that you love?
Love. And families are key to our life. We're all part of some family, whether family we're born into, the family we choose to be with. You gotta support your families. If you don't support your grandkids, you know, my godsons, I love them dearly, and my adopted son, I love him to all ends. Nothing will ever change that.
Yeah.
And it's all about how we love each other. That's more important.
How we love each other.
And the external hate from other people is not Christianity. They call themselves Christian, but I question that. We're churches like Metropolitan Community Church around the world, and National Catholic churches and other affirming churches show that there is love. That's where we need to be. You're always welcome in our pews, and everyone's welcome here. At Southern Cathedral, any MCC church, or any independent Catholic church, you're always welcome there. Even you're affirming synagogues, that's where love happens.
Listen, I'll go to any spiritual house if I'm welcomed.
You're more
welcome. if I'm treated, with respect and love, and I'm welcome, I'll go to any spiritual house. But this is something I think that drove a lot of our community away from the church.
Of course.
Because we grew up in church, and there's so many quote unquote sins in the Bible, but what was the one sin that they would focus on? I swear, for the majority of the service: homosexuality, and it not being natural, and this and that and the other. And I always thought, well, Mr. Jones over there is, having sex with Miss Smith. Y'all aren't talking about that. Mr. Jones is married to Mrs. Jones, but he's having he's committing adultery with Miss Smith. So, it's just one of those things. And I think any religion, I have nothing against Christians. My mom is a Christian. And I think any religion and doctrine can get distorted and can be used in a negative way. So I love the fact.
So back to the story. This one particular pastor resigned because he stood to his convictions. That's what's important.
That's right.
Standing by your convictions, holding on to what you believe, no matter if it means resigning from a job. So we applaud that pastor.
Yes,
that's
definitely.
Right. And of course, what the world needs now is love.
Is love.
We're bringing you a special presentation of the 24 biggest stories of the year we call the Top 24 of 24. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.